If you enjoy the Ranveer show, this is the channel for you. You don't have to consume every single podcast, but you have to binge watch all the clips on this channel. It's TRS Clips. So I think one of the phases most associated with your tenure is your time in Kashmir. And even if someone reads your Wikipedia page, it's very evident that you worked a lot towards peace. Like you actually encouraged the mothers of the insurgents to convince them to not be insurgents. And I think that's a very noble way of kind of putting the right message across and trying to do things in the right way. But I also want to ask you a very brutal question here, which is that civilians who are sitting in Mumbai, Delhi, etc., what do they not understand about the reality of Kashmir? You've had 6 tenures, I believe.
6 in Kashmir, 7 in Jammu and Kashmir, total 8 tenures in counter-terrorist, counter-insurgency areas.
Beginning in 1990, up till as recently as
2020.
Okay. What has changed in Kashmir and what do civilians not understand about the reality? Because civilians will turn to one news channel and they'll say something, another news channel will say the complete opposite. Traditional news media has lost its reputation because of these things. We're not getting into the details of why they sway in either direction, but I want to know from a soldier, what's the reality on ground?
See, Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir issue. Without going into much of a history, I'll just restrict to the terrorism point of view. Pakistan wanted Kashmir to be destabilized, to be unhappy, and Pakistan wanted something to keep projecting that Kashmir card so that people don't ask them the questions about their domestic failures. May it be political, may it be economic, and may it be military or whatever diplomatic, which have now become very pronounced in Pakistan's own backyard. They are in economic mess, they have so much of political issues and all those things. So one thing which binds them together is Kashmir. So they wanted Kashmir to keep burning. So when it happened in 89, when it started, I was there as a young captain, 88, first time I went to Kashmir. When the Kashmiri Pandits came out, I'll tell you why this thing is. Kashmiri Pandits came out, the population demography changed. Kashmiri Pandits were basically in through the education profession, plus other businesses, but the education collapsed. The village schools, which were made of wood those days, those were burned down by terrorists. So children were not getting good education because good teachers had left, most of them, and they were the problem. Thereafterwards, the Hurriyat, the Hartals or lockdowns started. Every second day used to be Kashmir lockdown or this for that reason or this reason, and the schools weren't open. The children would not go to school for 200 to 250 days in a year because of these lockdowns. You can pick up your grocery if you feel there are 3 days lockdown today, or you can pick up after 3 days of another 7 days, but you cannot catch up on your syllabus, which you have missed about 80% of the classes. Then they were promoted en masse without exams. As a result, the base of education was very weak. Then they come to 10th, 12th class, when they have to compete for getting admission in good professional college or good universities. So naturally, when the child has not been through a good education upbringing, they could not compete. Now, because of 370 and 35A, mostly 35A, the industry or the multinational corporations were not allowed to come into Kashmir for establishing industry. So the job opportunities were less, economic growth was less. And because of terrorism, Kashmir is basically a tourism-oriented society and agrarian society, basically fruits. And when the terrorism was there, the tourists stopped coming. So a lot of hoteliers, a lot of transport businesses, shopkeepers, they lost their income. Coupled with this, in 1990, when India opened up to world economy and world became a global village, 1990 is the time when terrorism started in Kashmir. Here there was economic growth happening, job creations happening. There, the education going down, the economic growth going down, the job creation going down. And what happened in the end? When the boy could not get into a good university, good college, he was like a cannon fodder for the terrorist to be recruited. And this is exactly what Pakistan wanted. Pakistan did not want these young Kashmiri boys to get good education, good job. Then they will not ask for what Pakistan is asking.
Yeah.
So the whole ecosystem which worked towards it. And now, after 5th of August 2019, the 370 having been abrogated, there's a lot of investment which is going in, there's a lot of peace which is happening, there's a lot of awareness which has come in. So things are on the upward graph now, and I am sure they will change for good.
What about that lost generation of children which didn't get good education but are also not becoming insurgents? What are they up to now?
Kashmiri society is a very intellectual society.
Okay.
They are a very aware society. They are very education-oriented society. They are poets. They are musicians. They are artisans. They are, different types of art. Maybe carpets, maybe paper mache, maybe walnut wood, or what have you. So this whole generation which you're talking about, it's not the generation which suffered. It is the society which suffered. A society which was so intellectual, which was so nice. Now, today, 2/3 of the population of Jammu and Kashmir is below the age of 30. And they have grown up under the gun culture, like I always say. So that society, that gap in that generation or the age group is what we have to understand.
Yeah.
2/3 of the population has seen this terrorism happening day in and day out in their neighborhood, in their own houses.
Yeah.
So we need to understand the psyche of this generation and need to be more human towards their cause and their feelings. Because all of them are not terrorists. Let me be very clear. The people who are terrorists or people who are terrorist sympathizers, they are in single digit.
Yeah.
Normal Kashmiri just wants his daily life, his good education, good hospital facilities, good, job opportunities, and peaceful life with the family.
So what's the reality of Pakistan occupied Kashmir? It's a aspect of the world which is very, I'd say, it's probably not understood enough by Indian citizens. What's the reality of that land right now? Like if you go there right now, what's happening there all over? Is it peaceful? Is it a hotbed of insurgency? What's happening? I mean, we know the answer,
I'll just give you a little background to, because some of the audience may not understand why. Pakistan occupied Kashmir is when Kashmir acceded to India on a legal document. Pakistan sent in their raiders to occupy Kashmir by force, and they were almost on the outskirts of Srinagar when the Indian army went in and pushed them back. They have been pushed back from the Kashmir Valley per se, but some part of the erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir, including Gilgit-Baltistan and some areas of Jammu and Kashmir, are still with them because they could only be pushed up to a particular place because it was the month of October. Then the winters came in, the passes got covered, and there were the river obstacles. So that area which is still under Pakistan control, outside the Kashmir Valley per se, is called Pakistan occupied Kashmir. They are also same Kashmiri people there. They're brothers who are this side and that side of the line of control. The situation there is such. Good thing which happened was the internet, the social media, the global village concept, and there was a bus service which was started between Pakistan occupied Kashmir and Kashmir.
Oh.
So anyone who went to Pakistan occupied Kashmir, spent few days there with their relatives, came back. He came and told the horror stories. The neglect which Pakistan occupied Kashmir was undergoing. The lack of education, higher education facilities. Like today, there are 9 medical colleges which are coming up or were only there in J&K. Whereas that side, they're nil. The type of job opportunities which are now getting created this side, the airports, the hospitals, the IITs, the IIMs which are coming up, it's a world of a difference. So that is now becoming clear because of the social media and the internet.
Got it.
And people going and physically seeing it.
Honestly, so this podcast is a lot of Kashmir education for me as well. And I feel so many people who appear on these news channels with strong opinions about it. Is it fair to say that they're not fully informed about the reality?
I will not specifically talk about anyone. I will say anyone who has not been to Kashmir is an opinion maker on Kashmir. I'll tell you a small anecdote. I was a corps commander in Kashmir.
Yeah.
And 370 abrogation had taken place. And a top newspaper chief editor wanted to come to Kashmir and interview me. So we fixed up the date and time, and he flew in from Delhi, and say the time was fixed, say 11 o'clock. So he came at about 10:30. So my staff told me, sir, gentleman is here. I said, okay, we can finish off the thing. So he came in and he said, sir, I'm very sorry. I overestimated the travel time. I came a little faster. So I said, yes, generally it takes that much time from the airport. He said, but I was thinking there's a lockdown. I'm talking about post 5th of August. There's a lockdown. There'll be a lot of checking, a lot of places. I'll be hauled up at the barrier and asked to prove my ID, and it will take me a long time. So I said, no, nothing like that happens. He said, yes, sir. All shops are open, all roads are open, traffic is moving around freely. There is no roadblocks, there are no barriers. And that's how I reached half an hour early. So I said, who's telling you there was a lockdown? There's nothing called lockdown. He said, no, sir, but the whole media is saying there's a lockdown in Kashmir. I told him, I said, you are the media, you are a newspaper editor. And then comes the beauty. Then he says, sir, actually I write twice a month, I write an article on Kashmir in editorial column. So I thought I must go and see Kashmir. No, he has not been to Kashmir. He's writing editorial articles on Kashmir. And he has a perception, even being in the media, which is supposed to be aware of things.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm saying. The narrative building about Kashmir, about wrong things going around Kashmir, are all narrative building. Pakistan till today is saying Kashmir, there's a lockdown. Where there are movie shootings which are happening in Kashmir.
Yeah.
So that's why if anyone who comes on the TV where they can influence a young mind, my request would be, you should have done your homework, you should be an expert on the subject, and you should know the topic.
Because you spent so much time in Kashmir, sir, please feel free not to answer this also. You witnessed the Kashmiri Pandit exodus?
Yes, I was a young captain in North Kashmir, in district Kupwara. And on 19th January 1990, before that, I reached there in September 1988, and I was there till better part of 1990. So I witnessed the situation at that time. However, since I was only a captain and in a particular area, with a particular area of responsibility, I written about this in a great detail in my book. Because what happened on that day, what happened prior to that. And a lot of people even question as to why the army didn't do anything.
Can you give a gist?
Like I told you, Kashmiri Pandits left. Education system collapsed. The ecosystem of Hurriyat, terrorists and all those people, anyone who didn't align with them got killed. They made sure the society remained uneducated. The socio-political, economic aspects, outcomes of this. Social outcome. There is a very deep-rooted thing. You will see no Sayyid, no higher caste chap getting killed in an encounter. They're all the controllers of terrorism. There is a cannon fodder caste which gets killed in the encounters. Economics. Because of the terrorism, because of lack of education, because of lack of good opportunities, good infrastructure, good development, no peace, economic development has not happened. Because the education had not happened, economic development has not happened, the job creation is not there.
Yeah.
There are no MNCs which have come in because of 35A. And tourism society, basically everyone depended on tourism. Because there was no peace, tourists were scared to go. At times, the terrorists even killed the tourists.
Yeah.
Whose fault? Not a Kashmiri local's fault, but he suffered.
If you enjoyed this video, just know that this entire channel is full of playlists that'll take you down different pathways of learning. All sorts of subjects, all sorts of genres, all sorts of guests, but the one commonality, lots of knowledge. Enjoy TRS Clips.